Emerging from the depths of the earth, Demeter, the goddess of agriculture and fertility, was welcomed by the sunlight reflecting her golden radiance. Her hair, waving like vast fields of wheat, and her eyes, glowing like amber, were a spectacle of natural beauty. She was received by Gaia, the earth herself, who, with a maternal embrace, conferred upon her the mission of enriching the earth with life and abundance, a task the young goddess welcomed with respect and curiosity. Living on Olympus, Demeter saw each day dawn over the earth, its fields and forests. Her beauty blossomed over time, attracting looks of admiration and desire. Despite her youth and radiant beauty, she remained aloof in matters of the heart, prioritizing her sacred work. But Zeus, the king of Olympus, was captivated by her, and one day, consumed by intense desire, he perpetrated an act of violence that would mark a turning point in Demeter's life. This tragedy led Demeter to leave Olympus and seek refuge in Sicily, near Aena. In this natural sanctuary, far from the gaze of other gods, she found a haven of peace. But the peace was bittersweet, for she soon discovered that she was pregnant, the fruit of that traumatic event. Determined to protect her unborn child from the influence of the capricious gods, Demeter took refuge in solitude and reflection. The birth of Persephone brought about a drastic change. Upon seeing her daughter, Demeter felt a wave of love and happiness that healed her wounded heart. Persephone grew up under the watchful eye of her mother, who fervently protected her, fearful that other gods might harm her. Demeter, the mistress of crops, shared frequent walks with her daughter Persephone, imparting lessons in wisdom and kindness. But in the shadows, fate was weaving a dark destiny for both of them. Zeus, already captivated by Persephone's beauty, followed her footsteps with a lingering gaze. Demeter, astutely alert to danger and having observed Zeus prowling his domain, urged her daughter to hide in a distant cave to protect her from her father's harassment. However, upon learning of the mother's plan, Zeus rushed in, determined to take Persephone in his arms. Terrified by the situation, Persephone followed her mother's advice and took refuge in the cave, trembling with fear and weeping in the darkness. In a cunning attempt to deceive her, Zeus took the form of a snake and crept stealthily into the hiding place. There, he repeated the horrendous act he had previously committed with Demeter. This event left Persephone in despair and horror, outraged by her father. Despite Demeter's tireless efforts to protect her daughter from the malice of Zeus and other gods, she could not prevent the pain this act caused in Persephone's heart. Still, Demeter remained by her daughter's side, offering comfort and support, always trying to alleviate Persephone's suffering. Time later, in a period of calm in the goddess's home, Persephone expressed her desire to go out flower picking with other nymphs and goddesses near her residence. As they enjoyed this pleasurable time, laughing and admiring the flowers, Persephone became fascinated by one particular flower and went away from the group to pick it. As she bent down to pick the flower, a huge crack opened up in the ground. Persephone, startled and fearful, looked into the abyss, and before she could react, a dark figure captured her in his arms and carried her away in a chariot drawn by black steeds. The other goddesses and nymphs tried to come to her aid, but in vain. They could not reach the abductor, and Persephone was lost sight. Responsible for the kidnapping was Hades, the ruler of the underworld, who had fallen madly in love with Persephone. Behind this action was Aphrodite, who had incited her son Eros to shoot an arrow into Hades' heart, provoking his obsession with the young goddess. Hades, wishing to make Persephone his wife and share the kingdom of the underworld with her, had taken her into his dark domain. Meanwhile, Demeter, terrified and distraught, cried out her daughter's name without response. Enraged and hurt, she transformed the nymphs into sirens, punishing them for their negligence. Despite her deep sadness and grief, Demeter took the courage to search the world for her daughter, disguising herself as an older woman so as not to be recognized on her lonely journey. In her search, Demeter arrived at Eleusis, where she was received by King Celeus and his wife Metaneira, who ruled with wisdom. The couple had 3 sons, and the youngest, Demephon, a tender and innocent child, won the affection of the goddess in mourning. Unaware of the older woman's true identity, the kings welcomed her generously, offering her food and shelter. In gratitude, Demeter gave them an extraordinary gift to make her youngest son, Persephone, immortal. At night, Demeter purified the child in the flames, a divine fire that, far from harming him, brought him closer to immortality. One night, Metanira, anxious about her son's well-being, went to his room. There, she came upon a shocking scene. Demeter was placing her son in burning flames. Horrified, Metanira screamed, interrupting the ritual and alerting the entire kingdom. In her surprise and annoyance, Demeter revealed her divine form and explained that she was granting the child immortality. But Metanira's interruption ruined her effort. King Celeus, filled with humiliation and regret, prostrated himself before the goddess, begging forgiveness for his mistrust. However, the goddess, sensing Metanira's fear, decided to leave the kingdom. Continuing her tireless search for Persephone, Demeter wandered through cities and fields, living with mortals, but without success. One day, while resting in a meadow, her beauty attracted the attention of Poseidon, the formidable god of the sea and earthquakes. Aware of Poseidon's intentions, Demeter transformed into a mare, hoping to evade the god. Despite her efforts, undeterred by her disguise, Poseidon transformed himself into a stallion and pursued her with supernatural strength and speed, insisting on his desire for her. The chase resulted in an inevitable capture. Despite her pleas and desperation, Demeter could not escape from Poseidon, who finally outraged her. From this forced union, 2 children were born: Arion, a divine horse with extraordinary speed, and Despina, a minor goddess of mystery. The goddess, overwhelmed by the events, continued her journey, carrying the scars of these experiences with her, but without losing her purpose. Despite her difficulties, Demeter persisted in her search for Persephone, completely forgetting her divine responsibilities. This neglect caused the earth to become barren and the crops to wither. As the goddess wandered the world in her quest, humanity suffered the consequences of her pain. Eventually, Demeter turned to Hecate, known for her divination skills, who revealed that Hades had abducted Persephone and kept her prisoner in the underworld. Moved by the truth, Demeter intensified the drought, making the earth even more arid, determined to wipe out all life if her daughter was not returned. Concerned about the imbalance caused, Zeus tried to persuade Demeter to restore the world's fertility. However, his words did not have the desired effect. Demeter threatened to prolong the barrenness and drought if Persephone was not released. Faced with this firm stance, Zeus sent Hermes to the underworld to negotiate the return of Persephone. Hades was about to allow Persephone to leave, but it was revealed that she had eaten pomegranate seeds, an action that bound her to the underworld. Enraged, Persephone transformed Ascalaphus, who announced her action, into an owl. Seeing Demeter's pain and the suffering of the earth, Hermes proposed a compromise. Hermes' solution was that Persephone would spend 6 months with her mother and 6 months in the underworld. All parties accepted this proposal. Upon being reunited with her daughter, Demeter wept joyfully, and the earth regained its greenness and fertility. However, every time Persephone returned to the underworld, Demeter plunged the earth into the cold of winter. In time, Persephone grew to love Hades, and together they reigned in the underworld. She became the patroness of spring, sharing this distinction with her mother and regulating the year's seasons. In Crete, Demeter, the goddess of agriculture and fertility, found love in Jason, the young and handsome ruler of the island, known for his bravery, intelligence, and deep passion for the land. One day, as Jason roamed his fertile domain, he encountered Demeter, whose beauty and power instantly captivated him. The goddess, in turn, was attracted by the king's devotion to the land and his people. Together, they lived moments of joy and passion, and from their love, Pluto, the god of agricultural wealth, was born. Despite the happiness they shared, the gods of Olympus did not regard the union between a goddess and a mortal. Feeling offended by the relationship, Zeus decided to end it, and one day, during a walk with the couple, a thunderbolt sent by Zeus fell on Jason, ending her life. Devastated by the loss of Jason, Demeter hid Pluto, her son, fearing that he might also suffer the wrath of Zeus. She took him to a secret place under the nymph's care, who lovingly raised him. Pluto grew up to become a generous god, blessing those who respected the earth with wealth and abundance. Thus, the love between Demeter and Jasonion endured through their son, whose legacy was reflected in the prosperous harvests of Crete. Sometime later, reunited with her daughter Persephone, Demeter decided to reward the inhabitants of Eleusis, teaching them the secrets of agriculture and gratitude for their hospitality while searching for her daughter. Demeter chose Triptolemus, son of Celeus, to transmit her agricultural knowledge to the world. She taught him how to plow the land, sow seeds, tend crops, and harvest. Once instructed, he gave him a magic chariot pulled by winged dragons, with which he would travel the world teaching agriculture. Triptolemus, full of gratitude, accepted the mission and departed, promising to make Eleusis a place recognized for the beginning of the agricultural era. Thus, sailing the skies in his magical chariot, he carried the knowledge of Demeter to all lands, ensuring the prosperity and gratitude of humanity towards the goddess. One day, Triptolemus, a disciple of Demeter, arrived in the kingdom of Scythia, ruled by Lyncos, an ambitious man and demigod descendant of Hades. Despite his people's food shortages and hardships, Lyncos had selfish plans and did not seek shared prosperity. Triptolemus came to the royal palace to teach the art of agriculture, promising to share his sacred knowledge. However, once Lyncos learned the secrets, he hoarded them for himself, planning to keep his people subjugated and dependent. In an attempt to perpetuate his rule, he tried to eliminate Triptolemus. Still, his betrayal was discovered by Demeter, who, furious at the attack on her disciple, transformed Lyncos into a lynx, condemning him to wander the forests. On the other hand, Triptolemus, after his adventure in Scythia, continued his mission, spreading the knowledge of agriculture throughout the world. Finally, he returned to Eleusis, where he was received with honors and celebrations. Thanks to his efforts and the teachings of Demeter, Eleusis was transformed into a thriving agricultural center, and agriculture flourished throughout the world, bringing prosperity and abundance to humanity. In Thessaly, an impious and arrogant king named Reunited defied the gods, particularly Demeter. In an act of contempt, he ordered a sacred tree protected by the goddess to be felled. His men, though fearful, obeyed and felled the tree. In response, Demeter, enraged by the sacrilege, invoked Limos, the goddess of hunger, and cursed Reunited with an insatiable appetite. Consumed by his perpetual hunger, Reunited sold everything he owned, even his daughter, in a futile effort to satisfy his voracity. Finally, in extreme desperation, Reunited devoured himself, leaving behind a grim tale of the consequences of defying the gods.